Hello from a very bright and sunny Liberia. I'm here visiting this beautiful country for 3 weeks to get an idea of what life is going to be like when I move here in November of this year. It's a pretty hot and humid environment, and that can be quite hard to deal with. It's quite draining, but there are some pretty good perks as well, such as this beautiful beach and ocean, which is right on the compound where we will be living when we move here in November. Hopefully you can see the ocean there. It's a lovely sound, hearing the sound of the sea again. But I'll be honest with you, a couple of days after arriving here from Uganda, I found myself feeling just completely and utterly overwhelmed. I don't know if you've ever experienced a feeling like that, where you just feel like everything is too much and you don't want to face it at all. You just, in fact, want to crawl back into bed and pretend that it is all disappeared. Now, you know, I've spent the last 3 years of my life living in Uganda in East Africa, and I think I suddenly had this realization that everything that I've learned there in how to deal with that particular country is not really going to be all that much use living here in West Africa, because it's entirely different. There is a different culture, a different climate, a different language. Everything is that little bit different. And I found myself stood in a small supermarket looking at all the goods on offer and thinking, what on earth do I do here? It was a very similar feeling to that which I had when I first moved to Uganda, feeling that I didn't understand how even the most basic of things worked, and that all of a sudden I was going to have to learn how to do it all over again and cope in this entirely new environment. You know, there are so many situations that we can encounter in our lives that can lead to that feeling of just being utterly overwhelmed. You know, it might be this seemingly never-ending lockdown for those watching from the UK, or even something like an election result that didn't quite go how you'd anticipated or how you'd hoped. For those watching from Uganda, it can be trauma or grief, or dealing with the pressure of life, of work, of school, of pressure to be a certain way, to behave a certain way, to look a certain way. All of those things can leave us feeling completely overwhelmed. Or it might be something not even big like that, just the everyday, the responsibilities of life, just coping with life. Some days that can just feel like too much, and we just feel that sense of overwhelm, that it is more than we can handle. The danger when we face times like those is that we can turn away from God. You know, I'm normally pretty good at having a quiet time, having some one-on-one time with God in my days, but in the last week I have really struggled to do that. In fact, I realized that I wasn't really doing it at all. You know, I'd consider it and I'd think, oh, you know, I'm just a little bit too tired right now. You know, maybe later. I don't think I can deal with that right at this moment. You know, I'm too busy. I have too much going on right now. And you know, it's amazing that when you stop making time for that quiet time with God, how quickly everything starts to spiral in our thoughts. You know, I started to ask myself, why am I even here? Why do I want to leave the place that's familiar and comfortable, the place that I know well? Why do I want to start all over again with something new? Why would I do that? You know, and it can start to infiltrate your brain. You start to think, I'm not even sure that I want to be here right now. I'm not sure that I want to be doing this. But it was as I sat in a socially distant church service on Sunday that I realized that I had it all completely backwards. And the worship band, they struck up their first chord and started singing this song by Elevation Worship called Sea of Victory. And some of the lyrics in one of the verses really stuck out at me. Sorry, I have an ant crawling on my face, I think. It says, "There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. I'm not backing down from any giant. I know how this story ends. I don't know why it is that when we're feeling that the world is too much for us, that we turn away from the power that we have access to in the mighty name of Jesus. Why is it that we forget the victory that Jesus won for us at the cross? The victory that we will see in our lives when we remember that this battle that we're facing, whatever circumstance it may be, is not ours. This battle belongs to the Lord. It is his, and we know how that story ends. Why is it that we forget that knowledge when we feel ourselves overwhelmed by the situations that we're facing in our lives? You know, in Mark chapter 6, Jesus and his disciples were exhausted. In fact, verse 31 tells us that because so many people were coming and going, they did not even have a chance to eat. That's some overwhelmed feeling right there, I'm sure. You know, I'm a person who needs to eat. I get a bit hangry if I haven't had some sustenance. And I can imagine how the disciples were feeling at that point. Like, it would have been so easy for them to turn and just snap at Jesus and say, this is too much for us. Don't you understand that this pressure that we're feeling right now? Don't you see how hard this is? We can't cope with this, Jesus. But instead, Jesus says something in this verse that is the absolute secret to that feeling of being overwhelmed. So he said to his disciples, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. Isn't that wonderful? Come with me by yourself to a quiet place and get some rest. Put everything down just for a moment. It's not going to fall apart in a minute or two. Put it down and come to Jesus and rest with him. It's as simple as that. There is not some kind of complicated strategy to it. There's not some step-by-step process to how we can achieve peace in difficult circumstances in our lives. All we have to do is come to him. That is amazing. And you know, right now, after that sort of moment of clarity, right now, I'm very much still aware that moving here is despite this lovely beach, is not going to be easy. I'm aware that there are going to be lots of new things to get used to and lots of new things to understand, and that, you know, sometimes it's going to feel hard. I'm aware of that. I'm not living in denial now, but it doesn't feel overwhelming when I put my trust in God. Instead, it starts to feel exciting as I think about what new opportunities there are, as I think about the new people that I'll get to meet, as I think about the new culture I'll get to explore. The feelings of overwhelmingness disappear into excitement when we put our trust in God. You know, it is so completely natural for us to feel overwhelmed at times in this life. And you're in good company with Jesus and his apostles if you're feeling like that right now, or if you've ever felt like that in your life. But you just need to make sure that you follow that advice of Jesus. Come to him by yourself. Find a quiet place, even if it's only for a moment or two, and take a rest. You would be amazed how much that moment with Jesus can reinvigorate you and just make you feel alive again, and make you realize that though you may feel overwhelmed, there is nothing that the power in his name cannot accomplish. Thank you so much for joining me today. Sorry if I'm a bit wonky here on the beach, but I thought I would show you this beautiful scene. I'm not entirely sure how many videos I'll be producing in the next couple of weeks. It depends on what time I have and what, how much internet I have and all of those wonderful things. But hopefully I'll be able to get this one uploaded for you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.